it's Don. We're going to just talk a few minutes here, and then we're going to go look at some items that have been posted up on Patreon and try and give you some pricing and some ideas on looking up and what to buy, what to not buy based on those items as well, too. So we'll do that. But first with my Shopify. Now, we're fast approaching fourth quarter. I've went back and forth with this all I can. As of right now, we're just suspending anything to do with Shopify, and we are just going to go on with just worrying about fourth quarter right now. We're too far gone at this point from where I wanted to be. I don't have the results I wanted, so I can't keep going after a certain point. I wanted to have everything done well before October 1st, and it's just not going to happen. So I don't want to waste a bunch of time and still not get it finished. So we're moving on with cutting off the extra 10 or whatever hours we've been working a week and running those all into listing stuff for fourth quarter. Not giving up on it. It's just going to postpone it. Fourth quarter seems to be the most important thing, obviously, right now. And with the environment, what's going on in the country these days, and with the pandemic and everything else, I think it's best to work on getting as much money as I can have come in for fourth quarter as quickly and easily as possible without having anything else. I don't know if there's going to be glitches once I roll in the Shopify or anything else. I'm not going to have the time to test tens of thousands of listings to any degree of certainty, and then I still have to investigate a few other aspects like the tax issues and things like that, and which app and all that stuff on Shopify. Again, as I said when I went into this is a learning experience for me. Again, had this just been a smaller amount of items, it wouldn't have been any big ordeal, but it's due to the quantity, how they're listed, and many other things. Boxes that won't show up if I import, condition lines that don't show up if I import. Altogether, it's just too much for me to want to devote time to doing that and bypass part of fourth quarter possibly because I don't get it ready. I'm going for the surefire thing, which is bombing eBay with as much and several other sites as well. We already got everything set up and it's already been running just fine. Again, I'm not giving up on it. I just don't want to devote any more time to it this time. We went through Sellbrite. We did other platforms. I've wasted a ton of time trying to get this to a different state. And it's just been nothing but issues from left to right. So again, I'm just going to postpone it temporarily. I'll hit it right back up in January. Again, time factor. As I said, everything we do is dictated by what's going on in the reselling environment. We really thought long and hard about whether we should have, switched over to just getting as many listings up when eBay changed the payment structure with more free listings. For me, the amount of money we are getting from more free listings is more than I projected to get from this fourth quarter with Shopify. So I really am not off anywhere. I'm still well above what I expected to be, even with Shopify running. And that's part of the reason why I says, well, at this point, let's just put it off for a little longer. I don't see a couple months, 3-4 months is going to hurt it. Well, 3.5 months, the rest of this month, and then October, November, and December is going to hurt anything or change any kind of status quo. I'll still have all of mine backed up with InkFrog and the whole works. I'm just not going to be investing any time into doing it until fourth quarter's done. It just makes no sense from a standpoint of cost-effective testing and everything else that goes with it. Again, I test everything, and I'm trying to be very methodical about how I do things. And the stumbling blocks here are doable, but again, time frame and other things are just so much more important. You should look at your business, by what's going on always. And don't hesitate to stop, change, move, or do whatever you can if things just are going in a totally bad direction, or the feasibility to get more money doing something else outweighs those actions. Like here, it would be far better to just bombard, 10 extra hours a day or whatever equates to with trying to move and switch and add little messages, or whatever the thing may be with fixing up the listings once they're imported. So that's the route we're going. One other thing too, there is an option now for an annual membership to Patreon, and it saves you, I don't know the exact amount. I just put in what they recommended and did what they said, and it's in there. I already have several people who took advantage of it. It is paid at one time, and if you drop back out from what it looks like, you would be prorated the standard monthly rate for the months that you used, so you get a refund or whatever from the difference from there, if that's something you're interested in. I thought I would throw that out there. Patreon's done several new surveys and added a bunch of other things for us to look at and think about. So I'm adding anything I can that will be helpful to you without throwing anything extra in there. But that's really about it on those key aspects there. Saddened to say that we stopped the Shopify as of right now, but again, we're talking time frame. If I was 2 months ago, I would have been able to just go forward with whatever. If, again, I had so many less listings. But let's hop over now and go to Patreon, and we're going to look at a few things that Ben Rowe put up. So here we are in the community tab, and this is obviously in Patreon. Ben Rowe has some items posted up here, and I wanted to kind of go through these a little bit. Now, without seeing the back on some of these, I would assume that this might be a blotter, maybe. If not, I didn't see a back on this one here. You've got several that look like they are blotters, and that would be my guess. If these are postcards or something like that, the same basic price structure would fall into play, especially items that don't have a city named on it. This is Genuine Copper's Miami Coke. This doesn't necessarily mean it's from Miami, Florida. There is a Miami area in Ohio as well. There's a river, if I'm not mistaken, named the Little Miami. So I was going to compare some to ones that you would see on here with blotters, if that's what it is. But I'm not 100% sure these are blotters. Now, blotter is for writing. It sucks up the extra ink so it doesn't smear. It dries quicker, and the whole works if you get droplets of ink on a piece of paper or something. Blotters are very common. They're given out by all of these sorts of businesses, and I must assume that's the case by the images here. Most of these, and like this one here, if there's no name, there's no back to this, and I don't know where it's from, I'm just going to look up First Third Union Trust Company. It may be only in a specific area. Most every blotter, if it's just these common ones like this, I put up for $17.50, $14.50 in those ranges across the board. I usually don't look up every single one unless it has something unique. Something like a bank or something's not well collected. So most all of those can be junked into that category. And that goes for most postcards of this sort. If this was a postcard and looked like this, I would do that same $14.50, $17.50 range. Now, yeah, there could be one out of a couple hundred that may go for more than that, but the time invested to search these down just wouldn't make it practical. Now, if it has a specific town, you can look up the town to determine. You could type in that town name and blotter if it's a blotter, or postcard if it's a postcard, and see what you get. Just type in, like if this had a town in West Virginia, I'd type in the town and probably just trust, the word trust, and look in the postcard section and see what happens. If it's a blotter, I'd look in the blotter section and see what comes up. But I've done so many of these searches that it's not worth the while for one that might go for 20 bucks. I just haven't found the need. Most all of them go in that $17.50 to 20 buck range. And even looking back here on blotters in general, the only real high ones are like this one here is from a radio show, The Shadow, and it only went for $128, and that's something super, super rare. Here's a Canadian Serial Premium card, and whether it's a blotter, I'm not sure, but it's from Superman, so that's totally different. Here's another one, Levi Strauss, totally different. Now this one here is for a blotter for a specific pharmacy. Now this is a little different. You can look up Toronto Junction and judge from there, Stodders. So again, if there's something specific that's tied to a specific place, as I said, that's a different story. If there's no specific place, it falls almost exclusively for me in the $17.50 to $14.50 range. This is an anomaly as well, this one here. This company, if I'm not mistaken, Stodders is a bitters company, and that is probably why that one went for some more money. But like this one here, it's a railroad blotter. It's very specific. This is a transportation blotter. This is a Superman blotter. So if you look, you'll see that there's tons like this. Now here's a whole stack of Lawson's, and Lawson's does monkeys. They lots of cute monkey images, anthropomorphic images, and those only went for $99 for 74 of these. And those can sell on average for 10 or 15 bucks. Somebody could have probably bought this one and made some money, in all honesty. That's probably what happens. Someone didn't want to waste the time and wanted the money quicker than longer. Again, looking at these are all for something specific, The Shadow. And the prices just drop steadily. This is a railroad. Now, this is a blue coal one here, but this is tied to the Shadow Radio Masters Detective. This is a specific one. The imagery isn't itself what's selling it, the Shadow, the comic book character, the Shadow. Again, here's Blue Coal, the Shadow Radio Masters Detective. It's for it. There's a picture of the Shadow even on it. So you've got one here that actually has coal on it. There's no shadow mentioned. There's nothing like that. This one may be a premium if you can prove it's from one specific area versus another one. Now, you can type in Miami Avon 5300, the phone number, and kind of tie that probably down to a specific area. Maybe not 100%, but probably so. So, again, there might be a chance you could put a little higher on it. $17.50 to, say, $27.50 on this one would be my total max on any of these like this. And I honestly don't think you'll get more than 15 to, say, 18 bucks at max on something like this. Again, I could be wrong on one specific item, but from overall consensus, this is what I've run into from selling all kinds of things like that. Again, like this one here, if you don't know the specific city this comes from, and this is a blotter, it will kill the opportunity to sell it for any more if you don't know a city. Now, if you got a city, you look up the city, Provident Bank, and you go by that. That's all I would type in. So if I'm in the postcard section, I'm going to type in Provident Bank and see what happens. If I'm in the blotter section, the same basic principle. Those are the only words I'm going to use to look these up. I don't find anything that automatically go up for around $17.50 if they're a bank, or $14.50. I never have much luck selling any specifics for a bank or a restaurant usually, unless it's something specific or it says Coke or Pepsi or something on it. Those are the gists on what I have seen from, as you know, selling tens of thousands of items up there. Again, a money one. Now, this one's a little different. It does have a mini Minuteman on it, but you can tell by the car on it, the age, probably the late 20s, early 30s. Blotter or postcard, same basic principle, $14.50 to $17.50 again, same basic one. This one you can see a town, so you could go in and do a Colonial Finance Co. Cincinnati, just those words and that's it, and come up with something from that. I honestly don't see them selling for a ton of money. Most banking stuff in general, other than maybe a real photo postcard, real picture postcard of a bank in some small town, that's very scarce. That's a totally different aspect on these. Advertising cards are a little different. The most expensive ones are going to be real photo, real picture postcards. Now, this is obviously from probably, I would guess this is just like a little notebook. Maybe nothing in it. I'm not really sure by the image here, but it's a power plant, so it's probably New York Power. Something like this is a little booklet. If I can't find a price, again, I can't find a price, I would put in Power New York and just see what comes up, or Electric Power New York, and see what happens. If I don't find anything, I'd put this up at $34.50 and just let it ride. That would be my personal guess from selling similar items. Again, you're not going to find every single item that you have. You're going to have to go buy similars for most of what you find in these oddball items. And most of these, if this is a blank booklet, don't go for a ton of money. Now, if there's a bunch of material and information about the power plants or something specific in there, it mentions a specific place, maybe even a specific time, probably $57.50 or higher would be what I'd put on it. But that's probably about the max on most of these smaller paper items, unless they have something very key and important to them. Let's give it a second here. Now, this is a decent item. I am guessing this is probably either a postcard or a trade card. Now, Daniel Webster has really probably nothing to do with this, would be my guess. Somebody just picked the name. Eagle Roller Mill Company. That's exactly what I thought. So Eagle Roller Mill Company, they have trade cards, blotters, and postcards, and even envelopes for that same company. Let's see if he's got a back picture of that. And on this being a blotter, no back shown, I'm assuming blotter. Something like this I'd probably put up at $34.50 just from sheer experience of listing a bunch of these. Now, you can type in Daniel Webster Flower Blotter and see where you go from there. Again, if I don't see something, $34.50 would be right off the bat what I put on this. And even at $34.50, this could be a longer tail item. Flower isn't super collectible unless it's unique. This is a different one. This is unique. So at $34.50, it has a good chance on getting some movement. Again, you got to take it for what it is, and if it is a blotter, that's the case. If this was a trade card, I might try and shoot it up at $57.50, especially if there's information on the back. So now this is Atkins Saw. This is literally from a saw maker, Silver Steel Saws, and this is probably a how to use their saws. Now, just by looking at the engraved style of image. This is probably from the 1920s, especially looking at the price of 10 cents a copy. It's an advertising piece. This could go in the hardware section under saws as well. The only problem with that, well, I guess there wouldn't be a problem because this would have to go first class either way, because this is in itself an advertisement for this company. So something like this, if I can't find a comp, again, this is one of those 3450 range items. A lot of items that I put up, I automatically throw up 3450, 2750, 1850, 1750, 1450. 5750 is another one that I use a lot. And I base those on the types of items that they are. And just from doing sheer listings and quantity of this sorts of things and looking at what the sale prices are. 10 years ago, these would have went for a ton more higher, but there's so many people now that have moved into other fields and, that have been selling brick and mortar and decided to move a lot of these items online. So the prices aren't quite as high. Now let's move on here. Now this one's a good item, International Harvester. You should be able to look this one up as well. This would definitely be something, if it's complete, even in this condition, I wouldn't worry about the condition at all. International Harvester. In fact, let's look up this one here. I'm not going to look up everyone. We'll just give you the hints to look them up. International Harvester here, and then manual, and see what happens. You're going to get a bunch, and there'll probably be some very high-priced ones. So far, that's the most intriguing item that you have, is the International Harvester, out of the few that we've looked through so far. This will more than likely be a two-part video, just by sheer fact of how many listings or photos you have up. So let's do this by highest priced first. Again, you can change these to permanently reflect how you want to search, just FYI. Now, yours is an earlier one. So as of right now, I don't see a ton. Well, these are probably in that same range, probably 20s. So if you can't find a specific one that matches yours, I would go by the ones that are similar in age and use the prices from those. And again, looking down through here, I don't see a lot of the earlier ones. This one looks to be much newer than yours just by the printing on it, but I could be wrong. Yeah, yours still looks to be a little older. Now, I'm sure there is some dating information on this one as well. The type of machinery it is can mean a difference too. If yours was for the tractor or the machinery itself and not like a tow-behind item, it would probably go for a little more money. I would probably still try and shoot for something in these price ranges on something that vintage and from that era, because both of these have issues and they still went for some decent money. Now you can see they are bins, buy it nows with best offer. And it looks like they gave out a sale and it sold on sale. So just FYI. Now let's bop back in here and look at a few more. Now this is probably just like a little storybook. This is probably something that's a promotional item as well, would be my guess. Most of those, Inventor and things like that, were advertised from companies and they use it to push their merchandise. How-to books, yeah. So I would gather this is probably right along the line of this. This would be probably an advertising piece, I would gather as well. So first class shipping on something like this. Again, $34.50 unless it mentions somebody like a specific Edison or something in it. Something like that would be different. Let's pop on here. This is for a basket, a specific like instructions for Dolly Varden, Metalcraft, basketable. So I'm sure this is some sort of crafting project that you would make out of this. These do sell, but they're going to be slim and going to take you a long time. Something like this, and I have some up, like doll manuals and manuals or little instruction sheets from even like Weebles, for example. Instruction sheets do sell, but they're probably far down the list on what people are going to spend any decent money on. Something like this you might get $7 for. You know, maybe if it's something tied, you know, that's sought after, like there's some Dolly Varden items that this would go to that's very sought after, you might be able to charge, you know, or put higher on it. I would probably put like $17.50 and just take whatever. That would be my take on this, especially with the amount of free listings eBay gives us. You know, you got to judge it on that. And if it has the screws and the instructions in here, that might be a little better. But my guess is it's just empty would be my honest guess on that. It could still, as long as it has the instructions, you should still price it in that $14.50 range, would be my honest guess on that. Again, look up by the name, the Dolly name on there, and just see what you get. This is new. Most of these I just throw in lots just by the sheer looks. I've had many of these. This is a place I personally go. This is Hocking Hills right here. And this is Old Man's Cave. I know it very, very well. I've stood everywhere around in this image here. And this is from the Columbus area of Ohio. Just FYI. These are very common, very new. I only sell these in lots. This era, this is probably late 60s, 70s, even into the 80s, possibly on these ones. I can't see a specific date, but this is a lot item without a doubt for me, or a whole bunch of Ohio items. Now this one's a Disneyland card, it looks like right off the bat. Most of these run in the, say, $6 to $15 range. Look it up literally by Adventureland, Disneyland, and then go from there. Add Anaheim in there always when I do something like that. This almost looks, yeah, Walt Disney Productions, Adventureland. This is probably from the late 50s, early 60s as well. This could be one of the original ones. So there are a few vintage ones. Tahitian Village you'd want to add into there too. So Adventureland, Tahitian Village, Disneyland 50s, 60s original postcard is something that I would put in there as the title. I may stick it up for $14.50. Again, look this one up specifically by Tahitian Village and postcard. That's all I would put in. I wouldn't even worry about the Disneyland to start with. And then if you get a ton of different oddball Tahitian villages, then I would add Disneyland into the search criteria. Other than that, use as few words as you can. Just a steamer. These are very common. And this is basically a Kurtech, very, very common. So these aren't worth a ton of money. It is Cunard's Queen Elizabeth, which is the only, great part of it. And it does show Empire State Building. But New York cards are a dime a dozen. Look it up by Queen Elizabeth and look it up by Harbor. And that would probably be all I would look up under postcards and then go from there. But chances are you may have $5-10 on this card at the very, very most, from my personal opinion of seeing tons of cards. I've looked at millions of postcards in my day. Now this one I can tell you right off the bat, this is probably Wilson Spice or another coffee company here in Ohio area. They all use these similar designs, and I've had probably 2 or 3 with the same image on it. Would be, Wilson Spice Company. Now, there's a Toledo one. Lion Coffee is the main name you'll see on many of these, but it's made by the Wilson Spice Company. There's 4, I think, major coffee tea companies in Ohio that were around forever. I run into these specific cards constantly because I'm in the Toledo market area. These $5 if you're lucky. This is something that I usually put in a lot. Now, if it had the lion's head, the engraved image of the lion on the back, it would be worth some more money. This isn't anything, special. This is probably circa 1890-ish, 95, somewhere in that range. And you would save and do all kinds of stuff. You get a big picture of that example if you wanted to. Not pricey. It's got some issues up there as well. It is embossed, it looks like also. Generic postcard, I would gather. I've seen very many similar to this, and it has like a little statement on there. Most of these only go in a lot, big bulk lot. Most of these, unless it's a specific town or person, aren't worth much in my book. And I don't mess with listing. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with listing this separately at all. Not at all on that one. That would be a bulk lot if you can tie it down to a city. The postmark on the back doesn't mean it's the city of that postcard. This is a bulk one. Though it's cute, these run maybe $5 or $6, so you'd be lucky to get on something like this. Again, there's tons of these. It's nothing super spectacular. It's something I may put up for $14.50, $17.50 on Max. Cute kid. Wheelbarrow, heart-shaped apples, Valentine, something like that in the title. But that's about max I would ever expect on something like that. They made tons and tons and tons of those, and there aren't a ton of collectors for them. Again, here's another generic one. No specific place, nothing specific. This is one I'd put in a lot with other comical ones. There is a specific artist this ties to, but I honestly don't remember the name. It's a gentleman, too. And you'll see tons of these style of images from that same person. But again, they're not worth a fortune at all. I only list those in bulk right off the bat. Now, this is a good one here. My guess is World War I. They look like U.S. uniforms. I would gather they, maybe even a little before that. It's possible it's a foreign, maybe they're French, but let's see if we can get a little closer. Yeah, I would say they're all U.S. You can see the crossed, let's see if we can look a little better. They're either crossed swords or crossed guns. I can't quite tell, but you can see ranks in the whole works. Wish you could see their emblem on the sleeve a little better. But he's got what looks like traditional U.S. collar discs in the whole works. They've got the vest thing that I see. That coat definitely looks to be legit. Now, if there's some names on the back, this could be worth some better money. If I can't name it, I usually put stuff up like this for around $14.50. There's no guns. You can't see a patch. You don't know where they're at. My guess is that it is in France somewhere. But again, without more information, maybe it will pop up, yeah. And by looking at the back, this was taken in France. So that would be my best guess on a price on these. It's going to sit for a while. Probably sit for a long little while, but you may get $5 or $6 out of this. Again, it depends on your urgency to list stuff that's going to sell quicker. It might be something you set aside to a time when you're slow as well. That's what I do with a lot of stuff that I think it has potential for $5 or $6, but I don't want to mess with it too much. Now this looks like Calcutta right off the bat. Without, yeah, I'm sure this is like Calcutta or something like that. These don't do well at all in my book. These are something I would, again, put together in a lot. It looks a little washed out. It may not be washed out. It may just be your image. I can't quite tell on that one. Let's look at the back and see if there's anything. Yeah, it looks like it's just Calcutta. It is a real photo, real picture postcard, circa 1910, but that definitely is from India. Calcutta would be, honestly, my guess, just by the buildings and such forth around it. Now, this one is pre-state. This is Hawaiian territory. This one definitely has some potential. Now, I would look up the name Molokai, or however you pronounce it, in Kalawao, however it's pronounced. I would use that as the term to look up. Just those two words under postcard, and that's it. This is circa 1910, maybe actually 1905-ish. Something like this, being Hawaii, Honolulu, from this far back, there was a specific curio company that printed many of those, and if it is the right curio company, it can be worth some money just because of that. Let's see where it is. Yeah, and this is the good one. This is one of the best ones you want. The Hawaiian and South Seas Curio Company is probably the most sought after. Looking at the back of this, this would date it to about 1898. Through about 1903, somewhere in that range, just by what I see here on the looks and comparing it to other cards from the same company. This one's probably one that could go for some decent money. If I couldn't find a price on this and nothing to compare it to, I bet you will find something, though. I would probably put at least $75 on this one if it was mine. Again, look it up by just the Kalawao Molokai. However it's pronounced, I would use it by that. But the dating range would probably be pretty accurate on that one, just based on how the stamp box is marked. Again, generic one, but this one has some potential only because it's a lion. $5 or $6 as a postcard, if that's what it is, would be about what I would expect to get out of it. I would list this at the end, or I would list it together with a bunch of other animals if it was me. Nothing spectacular, nothing special other than that. So just FYI on that one. Let's move on here. Now, this one is probably in Calcutta, so you can put this one with the other one. These are snake charmers, and you can obviously see that he's got a king cobra, what looks like a king cobra there. One of the big secrets on that, and it's got a monkey. So this one, I probably would put these two together, and I would probably list snake charmer, cobra, monkey, something along that line as the title. RPPC, these probably were received together would be my guess as well. It will add to the value. You can type in snake charmer, and I guarantee you're going to see others, and you can price it comparably to those. That's all that matters on this one, snake charmer. I wouldn't even so much worry, unless you do want to list those together, if they're from Calcutta in general. Somebody's going to buy this probably for the snake charmer, the monkey, and the whole works, the atmosphere of the image. It's a little washed out, it looks like. Not very clear, but still, it's not a bad image. You can see people were moving, so it's a tad bit blurry.